Hello, and welcome to Off the Cuff with Sean Hancock. That's me. I'm Sean. And today, we're going to dive into our very first episode. This is the flagship of Off the Cuff. And what we do with Off the Cuff, I'm an improv comedian, and we're constantly having to improvise and do things that are off the top of our head, off the cuff. And what's wild about improv is all these principles apply to everyday life. And so I'm going to show you, or reveal to you rather, the secrets of improv comedy and how we can use them, borrow from them, steal from them, hijack them in order to make our lives better, more rich, and more beautiful. So let's dive in. All right. So for those of you who don't know, Aikido is it's up there with like karate, kung fu, taekwondo. Aikido is really interesting, where it is the job of the defender to take care of the attacker, meaning you are responsible for the well-being of the person who's attacking you, which sounds crazy, which sounds like, you know, if you're a sibling, if you're the older brother, that's kind of how it was like, right? Having to take care of your siblings that are trying to attack you. So the whole point is how do I take this energy that is coming at me and redirecting it so that I'm taken care of, I'm safe, but I'm also not destroying this person who's trying to attack me. Wouldn't it be awesome if Twitter and social media was that way? Where we could just take this energy and put it in another direction. And I think people who debate really, really well do just that thing. So the thing that I heard this story once about this martial arts master, and he was taking on multiple combatants at once, which sounds a lot like you and I today, doesn't it? So this martial arts master is taking on these multiple combatants, and there's an observer who's watching him. And he's just fascinated with how this master moves and strikes and defends himself. And after this master defend himself, he comes up to him after the fight, and he says, "Man, I got to tell you, you are so fast at responding." And you know what the martial arts master said to him? "I'm actually not fast at responding, but what I am fast at is getting back to center." So in Aikido, in a lot of martial arts form, there's this thing about being at center. Center allows you to respond, to move, to adapt, because you are in the best position possible. You are centered, which allows you to move and adjust. And a lot of times in life, we talk about being balanced, right? The only problem with being balanced is that if I've got if my arms are scales and I've got equal amount of weight, and you take something off of my plate, one hand goes down and the other one goes up, right? So even being balanced isn't quite the way of things. So what if we looked at things about being centered, whether that's centered in your home life, whether that's being centered at your work life, whether that's being centered as being a father or a husband or a friend or a son or a daughter? What if we were more centered in our relationships? That way, when anything comes our way, we're able to adapt and respond. So since this is the first episode, I want to share a little bit about myself and how I got thrown off, how I was rocked off kilter where I was not centered at all. And it happens to do with one of the most difficult things in my life at the time, and that was dealing with a breakup of a relationship. I was 3 months before my engagement to be married. My fiance at the time broke up with me. And if you've ever been in a relationship and you've ever had someone call it off on you, it hurts. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, the thing about being hurt, it's a moment in time and it shouldn't last with us, right? There's a reason we have scars is because we heal from them. Wounds, we're still healing from them. And a lot of times with relationships, that's a wound that we need to heal from. And sometimes it takes more time than we would have liked. So here's the situation. I'm emceeing this event for the Dalai Lama. So for those of you who don't know, the Dalai Lama is this leader of this people. He's a religious leader and religious icon for this particular group of people. And I'm hosting this event, and I introduce the Dalai Lama, and I'm waiting off stage in the wings, and he's come to Idaho. There's thousands of people in the crowd, and the governor and a bunch of dignitaries are on the stage, and the Dalai Lama starts blessing them. And he's got these katas, which are like these white silk fabric scarves that he puts on people. And so the Dalai Lama is going around doing this. He's blessing the governor, and he's blessing all these dignitaries. And he looks over and sees me standing in the wings of the stage. And I see him notice me, and he quickly flags over his monk that was carrying these katas to come over to him. And my director noticed that, and she kind of like pushed me, like, go out there kind of a thing. And the Dalai Lama signals me to come out on stage. And so I meet him on the middle of the stage, and he takes one of his katas and he puts it around my neck. And then he grabs me by the face and touches my forehead to his forehead and looks me in the eyes and goes, "Thank you," and thanks me after like blessing me. And he said, and what is wild is while this is happening, my director behind me was sending the other hosts and MCs that were with me to go and stand in the wings just in case the Dalai Lama wanted to bless them too. And guess what? He did. This is something I learned, that if you have favor on you in your life and you get called onto the stage, you might just be making a way for the people who are behind you to have that same favor too, which means you might be the one opening the door for the people to come behind you, which is wild and which is powerful. And I didn't learn that lesson until later. So I'm on a high, obviously. I'm like, this is incredible. This is awesome. And then a couple of days later, my fiance calls off the wedding with me. And I didn't know that you've heard the term like some of the greatest blessings, or is there some of the greatest pains are actually blessings in disguise, right? So she breaks it off with me. I decide to go back to LA where I was studying improv and pursuing acting. And in this process, I'm trying to heal, right? I'm trying to heal that wound from relationship. And in the process, I end up meeting a couple of people who are into improv, and they're also people of faith. Like these guys are Christian people. And I had this wild opportunity. This person invited me to teach an improv class. And I said, no, I don't want to teach an improv class. This is the irony of this is funny because in improv, we acknowledge what someone offers to us, and then we say yes, and we add on top of it. So their idea becomes our idea. We're coming in together. So me becomes we, right? So anyways, so this person basically begs me, like, Sean, please, we need another teacher, and I think you'd be great. I think you'd actually enjoy it. Could you at least give it a shot? So I said, okay, fine, I'll try it out. And very quickly after teaching, I fell in love with improv. I fell in love with teaching improv. I didn't know that when you teach, you learn twice, right? When you teach, you learn twice. So I'm learning, I'm growing in friendships with these people. I feel so honored to be able to share these principles. And I'm realizing as I'm explaining something to them, those of you who are having to teach something, this might resonate for you. When you have that ability to communicate into words, something that you do naturally, it shows how well it is inside of you, right? So as I'm teaching, my friend David has this opportunity to go to Europe, and it's like the chance of a lifetime. And I'm so stoked for him. I'm like, man, and to be honest, I'm a little jealous. I'm like, man, that's so cool to go to Europe and do improv. That'd be so fun. Maybe I'll get my shot one day. Well, he ends up having a gig for Disney come up. And so he can't do both. He can't go on this chance of a lifetime to Europe and do this really great gig for Disney. And so he talks to the artistic director, and the director says, well, hey, who could do your role for you, David? If you can't go with us to Europe, do you have someone in mind? And my name was the one of two names. And And these guys end up picking me. They actually said, which one of these guys needs Jesus more? And apparently I did. So anyways, so they end up picking me, and I'm in rehearsals, and this is essentially like a mission trip, and I'd never been on a mission trip before. So for those of you who don't know, a mission trip is like you're going to serve a particular group of people, and usually you pay your way to go. It's part of practicing giving. It's part of practicing generosity and charity, if you will. So I end up, and I'm a starving artist in LA. And I've romanticized being a starving artist, partly because I was in a poverty mindset and I didn't understand abundance mindset. And so the principles of improv really hadn't landed for me yet. So I end up calling the artistic director right before I'm supposed to go on this chance of a lifetime to Europe and Switzerland and England and Germany. And I call up the artistic director and I say, I can't go. This opportunity that was right in front of me, I said no to it. Now, here I'm so thankful for what happens next because it changed my life forever. The artistic director said to me, Sean, we've already bought some of your tickets in your name that are non-refundable. It would actually cost us more money to get someone else than for you to go. I'm sorry to say it, but you're our guy. And then he says, can I pray for you? And I was like, over the phone? Does it work like that? Sure, I guess so. So he ends up saying a prayer for me, and it must have been a good prayer because I remember getting off of the phone. It was actually my roommate's phone because I couldn't afford to pay my cell phone bill that month. I end up getting off, I hang up my roommate's phone, and I hit my knees in my apartment in North Hollywood. And I surrender. I'm like, God, if you want me to go to Europe, you got to do it because I can't do it in my own power. But from now on, from this day forward, everything I have is now yours, including my life. Everything I have. Be careful with my car because it's missing a lug nut on the front left tire and it shakes after you go about 55 miles an hour down the freeway. So be careful with that. But I'm all in. And it was as if God was saying, that's exactly where I want you because now watch what I'm going to do in your life. So I end up getting all the funds that I need to go to Europe, and I start getting these branches in my life that were not producing fruit were getting pruned off of me. And I end up having that opportunity to go to Europe. And I'm sledging down the Swiss Alps. And I'm in Germany where they're encoring us to come back out to the stage. And there's this guy who's like, he's not a stage manager, but he was with the production. And he came up to us after the show was over and the Germans are encoring us to go back. And he's like, you must go back on stage. You cannot let the Germans, they want you. You can't make them wait for you. You must go. Americans, get out there. So we were with this dance, like there was a dance crew. It was improv. It was live music. It was this wild variety show. And the dancers were huffing and puffing. They just gave it everything they got. They're like, we got nothing. We don't know what to do here. And so I had been rehearsing musical improv with the artistic director, the guy who prayed for me. I said, hey, his name happened to be David as well. I said, hey, David, we could go do musical improv. And so he looked at me, he's like, all right, let's go. And so we bring up a guitarist, a jazz guitar player, and we interview this couple that was in the audience who they spoke English incredibly well. And so we interviewed them, how they met and fell in love, and then we reenacted their love story in front of the entire crowd. It was in that audience that a woman and her husband came up to me, and they would end up inviting me to come to Spain to teach improv to locals. And it was in Spain that I would meet my future wife. So had I said no to those opportunities, I'd say no to those blessings. Had I said no to stepping out on stage to be blessed, there was blessings that were coming behind me. And in that case of the Dalai Lama story, those blessings were for other people. So if I say no to opportunities that maybe God has for me to receive blessings from Him, the creator of the universe, what other blessings am I saying no to? But rather, what if I did this? What if I started yes-anding with God? What if I started saying yes to the opportunities and the blessings He wants to set me up with? What kind of doors would He open that no man could close? What kind of places would He take me to? What kind of areas would He allow me to steward so that I could leave this place better than I found it, right? Isn't that our kind of our purpose here on life as being men or women of integrity and responsibility, to leave this world better than we found it? I'm a father now. And so I'm looking at my kids in the eyes, and I want to leave this world better than they found it, which means I got to take care of the things that I've got in my world. From that moment of surrender, I realized that when you surrender in the kingdom, you actually get what the kingdom has to offer. When you surrender, it's almost like this upside down kingdom, right? In the world, if we surrender, we wave the white flag. It's like we've given up. We've given up hope. I'm done. I can't get what I want. I can't even fight you. I surrender. But in the kingdom of heaven or the kingdom of God, when you surrender to the king, you end up getting what the king has. You end up getting his inheritance. He calls you a co-inheritor, and he gives you a crown and calls you a son, or he calls you a daughter, right? So my point to all of this is, what if we started yes-anding what God has for us right where we are in our everyday life, right wherever you are right now, whether you're in a job you don't like, whether you're in a relationship that's difficult, whether you're struggling in your marriage, whether you're struggling in your life, and maybe you're in a divorce situation and you're struggling with your kids. Like wherever you are, what if you acknowledge the blessings that are actually coming your way? Because what I realize now is that big tragedy in my life, where this girl who I thought was going to be the girl I was going to marry, when she called it off, it was actually the greatest blessing in my life. I just didn't know it yet. So I'm curious, these great tragedies that have struck you, what if they're actually your greatest blessings? You just don't know it yet. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning in to Off the Cuff. I'm Sean Hancock, and I hope you tune in with me next time. The next episode, we're going to get into your reticulating activator system, which if you don't know what that is simply hardwiring your brain to see the things and attract the things that you want in your life, to make it better, to make it richer, to make you more powerful, so that you end up leaving this world a better place. And let's be real, life doesn't stick to the script. And if all the world is a stage, wouldn't you want to know how to improvise? Welcome to Off the Cuff. I'll see you next time.